Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Sports Talk with Eddie. Took a 1 week hiatus. I'm feeling nice. I'm feeling fresh. Uh, didn't wasn't able to make it last week due to some other assignments that I had to do, but we're here. Hoodie season is officially over. I think it's safe to say now it's time for those North Faces and the bubble coats and some hot cocoa, as well as the UGG boots or the Timberlands, all that good stuff for the upcoming New York City winter. But as chilly and cold as it is outside, we are going to heat up things in studio here. We got a lot to go over with. We're gonna get into baseball, see if we can get some call-ins to see about your guys' input as far as what moves you think that the Mets or Yankees are gonna be. It's a very exciting time for Major League Baseball free agency. Usually in the month of November, it gets a little bit slow. There's a lot of negotiations that goes on. There's a lot of general managers meeting. But once the first week of December rolls in, which I believe is the first week of the winter meetings that they have down in California, you're going to be able to see things pick up quite swiftly, especially when it comes to the relief market. I think the relief pitching market is definitely going to be something to look forward to, as well as the outfield market. And obviously, the Yankees and the Mets both will be looking to acquire some pieces in both the relief and outfielding market. So definitely something to look into. We're also going to get into a little football, a little bit of baseball, and we're going to talk some basketball as well. So let's jump right into it. But before I get into the segment, and I meant to say this in the previous episode. Now, part of my rant, to me, if you look at the numbers and you look at just things in general, it's pretty much straight to the point. It's factual, and sometimes it's just downright silly, especially when you have New York sport figures criticizing their time here or what have you, which is a rarity for all four major sports when it comes to New York. But it really gets under my skin, and I did not think that a situation or scenario involving New York sports will get under my skin more than the Jets losing. But I've been smiling for about 2 weeks because they actually won the past 2 weeks. But I gotta, we're gonna create a segment. Maybe we'll do it once a month or something, and just shake your head Thursday or something like that. But I have to respond and give you guys my take. And you guys can call and give me a take too. One Aroldis Chapman. Now, during an interview, he was said he pretty much explained about his tenure with the Yankees. How he wasn't treated well. He was disrespected a lot, and it's always funny how when you have a New York figure that used to be a former New York figure or any sports figure that played in New York, when they happen to have a good season, then the BS comes out. It happens all the time. And I just, for the life of me, I don't get it. So he was just pretty much saying that, the reporter asked him if he had a chance to go back to the New York Yankees, will he? He said, end quote, hell no, he would retire before he ever puts on the uniform again. Now, here's my issue with this. This is a guy, time after time, when it counted the most, he's the closer. He's the guy that we put the ball in his hands to get the final three outs of the game. Now, for the most part, listen, this guy is probably one of the most dominant closers we've seen. He's 37 years old and still throwing 100 miles per hour, which is insane. That shows the dedication that he has of, not of creating longevity, reinventing his game. Because within time, you're not as sharp as you was, say, when you're a 23-year-old pup or things of that nature. And just the dedication that he has of taking care of his body. I think all of this that we're seeing is a testament to his longevity and his dedication to wanting to be great. I give him that. But when it comes to the silly stuff, I gotta call it how I see it. So here's the issue that I have with him saying what he said, and this is my unbiased statement here, not because I'm a fan or what have you. But you gotta when you say things, just you gotta make it make sense to me. Now, he was very critical about his time with the Yankees, which I found very shocking once I heard the report. But here's the thing: like I said a little while ago, in the biggest crucial games where we needed him the most, he folded. I can go on to 2022, 2017 when he gave up I think it was 17 or 22, one of those years. It seemed like the Houston Astros in particular always got the best of him. But that one year in particular where Altuve hit the game winning home run to send the Houston Astros to the World Series. Granted, that did come with a lot of controversy on the Astros end, but the one person who did give up that pitch was Aroldis Chapman. This was a guy that got suspended one year for a domestic violence case. He missed a month of the season. This is a guy that went and got a tattoo during the regular season, which eventually got infected, which forced him to go on the injured list. This is a guy in 2022 did not show up for a routine workout because he wasn't guaranteed a spot on the roster. Come on, man. You got to be kidding me. There comes to a point where, you have to take accountability. And in this situation, it was just him just, you know, crying. I want to say something else, but I don't want to get out of hand. But I just, you have all of these accolades, which is good and dandy, but, it wasn't always a straight line with this guy. You know, there was a lot of question marks that I just pointed out, which made his tenure in the Yankees sort of bittersweet. You know, is he a guy that, if we talk 5 years down the road of being one of the greatest Yankee closers of all time? I don't think so. Was he a good Yankee pitcher from time to time? Yes, but with him came character issues. And again, it's so easy to have a good year. And granted, he probably had one of his best years as a professional baseball player this past year with the Boston Red Sox. But again, you're gonna say things like that. Have all I'm saying is just have some proof to it. You know, I've been a Yankee fan since 1996. Not to try to give up my age or anything, but whatever, do the math. It's very rare where I've come across a scenario where a former Yankee comes out and criticizes his time with the team. Now, the only scenario that I can remember, and this was way, way, way back, was with Ken Griffey Sr. when there was an incident where I think the Yankees had kicked out his son, Ken Griffey Jr., which is went on to be a Hall of Famer, by the way. During the dugout one night, the story, I know the story by heart. I've read it so many times. The pieces are not going together at the moment, but pretty much, it was just a son defending his father, and during a regular season game against the Yankees, Ken Griffey Jr. was asked if he would ever play for the Yankees, and he went and said, and quote, "If the Yankees were the last team on earth, he would retire." Now, granted, what happened with him and Ken Griffey Sr. with the Yankees organization is understandable why Ken Griffey would be as bitter as he is. There's reasoning behind it. We don't know the extent of it, but that was pretty much what it was in a nutshell. With Chapman, it's just, dude, like, you got one championship, which is that one good year you had with Chicago, but when it comes to big time scenarios, yeah, you're good. You're a good regular season guy. But when it comes to the playoffs, which it matters, you didn't come through. And then along those times that you were with the Yankees, along those years, there was always an issue. Not showing up, having off the field issues, getting a tattoo, during the season, which got infected. I mean, like, come on. So, if we're talking about disrespect, you kind of disrespected the Yankees organization. If we're getting technical about things. Now, I don't know. He didn't go into details as far as the disrespect that he endured, which is another fishy thing. Because listen, if you're putting something out there, man, speak on it and speak on it in full. Don't throw out little darts there and have people just try to put the pieces to the puzzle. You got something to say. You went on an interview. You said what you said. Now speak on it. Stand by it. You know, one of the quotes that my grandma used to say is that if you don't stand for something, you'll stand for nothing. And I take that quote within my everyday life because it is as real as it can get. If you truly believe in something, if you truly have an issue with something, just go out and say it. And I kind of wish this scenarios like that should be dealt in private. Maybe within a meeting with the general manager, maybe the meeting with Hal Steinbrenner. I'm pretty sure some way somehow that could have been orchestrated. But for this to come out and I think it's about 3 4 years since you've been a Yankee, and you come out and say this, it's kind of ironic. It just seems like a guy who just wanted to talk just to talk. Truthfully, that's what it is. It didn't make sense why this came out. I understand he had to answer the question, but it's just where was all that energy when you were on the mound against the Astros? Where is that energy when we needed you in 2002 and you decided not to show up for a mandated workout? There were other players aside from you that did not get an invitation to that workout, and I guarantee you they still showed up for that workout. So to close this, just Chapman, you have a good career, man. Don't be petty. Don't be sour, man. Don't be sour. That's I was gonna say that's not the Yankee way, but you're not a Yankee anymore. But it's just I find these situations so surreal and so odd because it comes out 4 or 5 years later. It always does. It never fails. And this is not just with sport figures in New York. This is just sports in general, where they're badmouthing their former team. Yes, there's a little bit of animosity. All that comes at the end of the day. We all human beings. We're all entitled to have our own feelings and our own perspective of our tenure that we had with a team. But it's just when you start using words like disrespect and things of that nature, it kind of brings certain scenarios to an upper echelon, in my opinion. But very, very surprising to hear those quotes, and it did happen about 2 3 weeks ago. But because we didn't air last week, it was a chip on my shoulder to just release it and tell you guys about it, get you guys input about it. But I just, it was just a lack of professionalism on his end to me. You know, to me, that's just what it is. It wasn't, you can go and say, oh well, it's kind of similar like the Michael Parsons situation. It's not, because the thing is, Michael Parsons, and not to switch gears for a second, but I will just for people at home to get the analogy. Michael Parsons is probably to this day one of the best defensive players in the league, and he proved that year in and year out for the Dallas Cowboys. And of course, it's like if you're doing a job and you're overperforming your job, you expect to be compensated. You expect to get the bag. And that's all this is about, was him getting the bag, him showing his dedication to the organization, which he has said numerous times, I want to be a cowboy. I want to be a cowboy. I want to be a cowboy. And his performance was equivalent, in my opinion, for Jerry Jones to open up the pocketbook and say, "Here, man, we're gonna make you the best, the highest paid defensive player in the league." Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we actually had breaking news on that on the show, which was pretty cool. But just to compare and contrast the two, there was no ill will. Maybe there'll be ill will 2 3 years from now on an interview. I'm pretty sure it'll happen once the two teams face each other, or maybe an interview sometimes in the offseason. So it'll be interesting to see what was Michael Parsons' take on it. But for the most part, with the trade, before this even went down, there was obviously trade rumors and things of that nature. And from all the interviews that I've seen and I've read upon, you've always seen Parsons being a professional, saying, "Hey, listen, listen. There comes with the hard work and the stats that he has put out there in a couple of years. You're gonna pretty much speak with your chest out and say how you feel. And truth be told, he has that right because the numbers don't lie. During his tenure for a Cowboy, he was nothing short of amazing. Whereas Chapman, yeah, good regular season guy, but come the playoffs, he just flopped. And this happens to come out through 2, 3, 4 years later after his tenure with the Yankees, which I found very odd. But it is what it is. But yeah, so we're gonna stay with football, and we're gonna talk about the New York Jets. Now, it was a very, very tough time for your boy being a lifelong Jet fan, and sometimes that's hard to admit. I'd rather just tell people I'm a football fan at this point. But, I got to stay with my colors. I got to stay with my team, gang green, no matter what, and just support the team. But a couple of weeks ago, I want to say we're approaching 2 weeks, the Jets organization felt that it was time for a wholesale of some sort as far as breaking down the team. The Jets went and traded their two best defensive players in Sauce Gardner and Quinton Williams. And I tell you, I when it first happened, first of all, I didn't even know about it initially. I remember I was with my fiance. We were just talking. I don't know what we were talking about. We was talking, and then I'm hearing my phone buzzing. And normally you hear one buzz, it's like, okay, maybe an email notification about some retail store telling you that there's 40% off or something like that or whatever. But once these messages started adding more, and once it started coming on a lot, I was like, wait a minute, okay, this can't be no routine email because my phone is just blowing up at this point. And it was a co-worker of mine, a cousin of mine, a good friend of mine, and all I could see was just the breaking news that Schefter, Adam Schefter of ESPN, reported that those trades happened. Sauce Gardner happened, and then I want to say a couple of hours after that, or maybe it was the next day. I think it was the next day after that. Quentin Williams got. So just want to go over the details with you guys as far as those two trade goes. As far as the Sauce Gardner trade, the Jets sent Sauce Gardner to the Colts, which obviously the way the Colts are playing this year, it gives them even a better chance having one of the best defensive corners in the league. I'm not gonna go and say Super Bowl. I'm not gonna go and say that because, as a wrestler Ric Flair used to say, to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And right now, the man of the NFL right now is the Philadelphia Eagles until someone knocks him off the horse. But I tell you one thing, they are really, really good in the AFC. I'll put them up there with the Colts. No, the Colts. I'll put them up there with the Patriots and the Bills. And you know, the Bills are sort of going down a little bit. They've been struggling a couple, whereas the Colts had that little miscue a couple of weeks ago, but bounced back pretty smooth in that game in Germany this past week. So yeah, the Colts look pretty good, and the Jets received a first round pick in 2026 and 2027. As far as the separate trade that they had with the Dallas Cowboys involving Quentin Williams. Jets sent Quentin Williams to the Cowboys, and in exchange, the Jets received a 2026 second round pick and a 2027 first round pick, which totals them having five, I think, five first round picks in this year's draft. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's no five first round picks. I think it's two this year, and I think it's three in 2027. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think that's how it goes. But I know we have five number ones in the next 2 years, and I know we have a few number twos. So, you know, with this, now again, it's so easy to have that initial reaction because you're a fan. I was just pissed off. I mean, I was just pissed off. My fiance, she went on and she was like, hey, you want me to make your favorite? You know, mac and cheese, smothered chicken, collard greens. That's my go-to always. But If you ever have her lemon pepper salmon, it is insane. So once you throw that at me and I'm not paying attention to nothing, that means I'm on one right now. So those trades really, for at least the first 2 hours, I was just not myself. I couldn't believe it. I was depleted. I was depleted because I was a big Sauce Gardner guy. Because these signature Jets players don't last long. I haven't bought a Jets jersey in very, very long time. I think the Jets jersey that I remember owning was a Wayne Corbett jersey. And for those who know Wayne Corbett, this was late '90s, early 2000s. My brother bought me a Sam Darnold jersey a couple of years ago, and I think like the next year he got traded. And one thing I found out with that situation is you don't get a jersey from your brother because chances are that player is going to get traded. But it was tough. But when you look at the future aspect of it, you got these number one picks. Um, from my knowledge, between this year and next year is going to be, especially next year, it's going to be such a good draft class. Um, and we got to see if we can finally get this right when it comes to this quarterback. And I think the one thing that we have yet to do is select a guy who can prove that he can be good and be good here. And it just seems to be the Jets' Achilles heel when it comes to drafting. We thought we got it right when we got Sam Darnold. Before that, Geno Smith. Sam Darnold didn't pan out well. All of a sudden, he had that great year with Minnesota last year, and he's excelling as one of the best quarterbacks in the league down in Seattle. Go figure. Another one was Zach Wilson. That really didn't pan out too well. He was a number two overall pick out of BYU, I think 2 years ago, and that didn't really pan out. I think he is currently the backup at Denver, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I haven't heard Zach Wilson's name since we got rid of him. So very very tough spot to be in, but also an interesting spot. But the thing is, just because you get this top spot, and this is only I'm speaking for all Jet fans. You guys know what I'm talking about. Just because you get a top pick doesn't mean that it's going to pan out. And I just threw out a couple of names you guys indicating just to back up basically what I'm saying. So it's a situation where you should be happy about it, but it's sort of bittersweet. It's sort of bittersweet. You can see two sides of the coin where it's like, damn, like you know, no one saw the Sauce Gardner trade coming. I for sure didn't. We just recently signed him to a 4-year, $120 million extension back in July. So I'm like, all right, we're pretty much solidified this guy as the cornerstone, as the face of the franchise. He's not going nowhere. Um, Gary Wilson, the top receiver, when healthy, could be one of the best receivers in football, in my opinion. He's been decimated by knee injuries this year, so that really ain't pan out good. He also signed an extension with the Jets. I hope that the Jets hold on to him. I really, really hope so. I love Gary Wilson. I love what he brings. I love what he's capable of doing when he is healthy. And the same thing with Quentin Williams. I think Quentin Williams signed an extension with the Jets about two years back or so, something like that. Now, the interesting thing about Quentin Williams that just came out today, according to many sources, was he requested a trade from the Jets about 3 times. Supposedly, the relationship between Quentin Williams and the New York Jets deteriorated once they decided not to bring back Aaron Rodgers. As we all know, Quentin Williams and Aaron Rodgers, they developed a very good relationship. They were buddies off the field, and Quentin Williams was not happy about that. And when you lose for 7 years in a row, that kind of really adds the punch for wanting to depart. So once I read that, I'm like, okay, so it pretty much, you have these distractions and whatnot because once somebody asks for a trade, especially in a big market like New York, it becomes the ultimate distraction. So I'm like, okay, well, I get what they were trying to do. Um, and unfortunately, you know, we decided to make the move, but we got good draft capital back. So if you want to look at a positive aspect of that, is that we indeed did get the draft capital, and hopefully the Jets do something right with this, man. You got some quarterbacks that are coming out. I don't know how good they are. I feel like it's so weird because I feel like this quarterback class in particular, they can be good. I don't know if they are NFL ready. You can always obviously have the body work, the NFL body, and have the statistics on your Heisman year and be like, okay, yeah, this guy is doing good. He's NFL ready, but the speed of the NFL game as opposed to the college game is bar none so different. But hopefully, depending on where the Jets are in the draft board standings right now, they currently hold the number three overall pick in the draft, which could, depending on who's in front of them right now, I think it's Tennessee and New Orleans that's in front of them for that pick, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see whether they select a quarterback. But you got a few good ones out there. You got Carson Beck, obviously. Carson Beck from Miami, Florida. He's been around, bounced around with Georgia. Pretty good quarterback. You got Drew Allard from Penn State. You got Cade Klubnik from Clemson. You got Arch Manning, obviously, you know, within the man tree out of Texas. So it's going to be interesting to see where the Jets land. But it's like, geez, are they going to land anywhere? Because they're on a two-game winning streak since they parted ways with Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner. So it's like, okay, what's really going on here? It's just this is I'm sorry, but this is the one time Jet fans will admit that this is not the time to be winning games. You want to lose, you want to lose, not tank. I'm not saying tank because tank is like, okay, you're not trying at all, but you basically want to. You're hoping that they lose out so you can solidify a higher pick to get one of the top tier quarterbacks. And assuming that the Jets are going to go that way, there could be a possibility where they take those draft picks they got and maybe they get somebody like a Joe Burrow. I'm just saying it's possible. A first round pick, maybe two, could seal the deal. I don't know, but again, there's a lot for the Jets to consider as far as who they're going to take. I know it's easy to go on a criticizing spree as far as Aaron Glenn, but the past 2 weeks he's got these boys ready and willing to play some pretty damn good football. You had two special teams touchdowns, which I haven't seen a Jet do that in so long. I mean, the first thing I think of when you talk about special teams, not only just touchdown, but just effective special teams play. I got to think about Chad Morton back in like the 2010s or something like that. He was just him, and then you have Brad Smith. Oh my God, those guys were just exceptional when it comes to the special teams game. But you gotta part of you is a little, you can be a little happy if you're a Jet fan because you're winning. Listen, nobody wants to tune in every Sunday and be like, well, geez, they lost and the game hasn't started already. So, you know, at least for the past 2 weeks, you're able to, as fans, you're able to get out of that psyche and be like, okay, well, maybe we'll see some competitive football. It's a team that does lack talent, but, you know, this is where we see how good Aaron Glenn is as a coach and as a head coach as that. So the first 2 weeks, I like what I see, and hopefully it continues. And if not, then hey, this is a rebuilding year to begin with. I said that on a previous episode when we kicked off the NFL football season. It's kind of weird that we're already 11 weeks into the NFL. It just breezed. It kind of just went by, just like this year's summer went. So it is truly insane that we are already approaching Week 12 in the NFL season. Jets play the Patriots tonight, Thursday Night Football. That is a 8:15 start tonight. If you guys want to catch the New York Jets host the rival New England Patriots tonight. So that's something that I'm definitely going to look at. But yeah, so put it all in a bowl. Um, I wish those guys the best as far as Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams. It's definitely a tough pill to swallow when you're letting go of those guys. Those are defensive studs. But if we can do something with this draft capital and it finally comes into fruition, then we can look back at this episode and be like, well, geez, that wasn't so bad now. It wasn't so bad. But right now is obviously to be determined. And we'll see what that happens moving forward. And we'll see if the Jets actually elect to get a quarterback if they're in place for a quarterback. Me personally, you know, you need somebody to throw it to essentially. So I would like the Jets to see to at least entertain the trade market as far as what's out there. Obviously, things seem a little bit rocky in Cincinnati for Joe Burrow. Granted, he has dealt with some issues. He had the ACL issue a couple years ago. He had the surgery on a turf toe this year. He should be returning this coming week. He's been out for the past 4 or 5 weeks, I believe. So again, maybe that's something that the Jets could look at it and be like, hey, well, if we could squeeze it, listen, if you can get a guy like Joe Burrow, who is arguably, when healthy, top 10 quarterback in all of football, you do it. And then you go ahead, you look into, depending on whether he comes out, Jeremiah Smith out of Oregon is just box office. This guy is just insane. And whether he comes out this year or next year, he'll probably be he's got to be considered at least the number one overall pick in the NFL draft, depending on where he comes out. More than likely, as far as the sources that I've read, it'll probably be during that deep draft class that is expected to be in place for 2027. But we'll see. But you need a quarterback, offensive line. Listen, I think every time we get on here, I get on here, and we talk about the Jets. We always talk about their offensive line. I feel like I've been talking about their offensive line for about 15 years now. So that's something that they definitely need to get right. For the most part, they have been drafting offensive tackles. The Achilles heel with that is that they haven't been healthy. You know, you Vera Tucker was we were suspecting good things for Vera Tucker. Unfortunately, he goes down with another season-ending injury after a pretty good campaign last year. So it's all about these guys staying healthy, man. And again, it's so easy to criticize Justin Field. Granted, he has not, helped himself out with his performance. But these past 2 weeks, I don't know, I guess I think ultimately not as a quarterback, but I guess I want to say theoretically speaking, as a man in general, when you have anybody call you out about your performance in public, that's got to add some sort of fire into you. And I think, uh, I don't think Woody Johnson' intention was to be channel his inner Jerry Jones, but for the time being, because I don't want to go and say that this is going to be, now and towards the future. He could easily lay an egg against one of the top defensives in the league in New England tonight. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we have another decent performance by Justin Fields, and hopefully Brees Hall continues to do what he has been doing all year long. So yeah, so we got to see what's going on with the New York Jets and where they're going to go with these draft picks moving forward. Obviously, we'll find out come April, come the NFL draft. Um, as far as other New York football on the other side, the Giants fired their head coach Brian Dable. Um, I don't know how I feel about this because you know the beginning of the season when they had Russell Wilson at the helm, I'm like, yeah, this guy got to go. This guy is just they don't have any idea what players are going on. They look like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off. It just really looks bad. But I sort of had a change of heart just watching highlights and a game here and there, a quarter here or there and whatnot of how they responded once they had Jackson Dart at quarterback. And normally you'll see that chemistry between coach and quarterback and for the most part, I sort of saw that with Brian Dable and Jackson Dart. So for the Giants to part ways with Dable was kind of it wasn't surprising. It was just surprising that it happened now, in my opinion. It was surprising that it happened now. I thought, you got your 11 weeks in. You guys obviously have a losing record, and if you didn't do it by the bye week, then it's probably not going to happen. That's my initial thought process. But they decided to part ways with Dable couple of days ago, and the Giants will have a coaching search for next year. So it's interesting to see who they're going to plug in as the head coach for the New York Giants come next year. So with that, we're gonna go and switch to basketball, and we're gonna talk about the New York Knicks. Now, again, I I sort of have to eat my words because I felt like this was gonna be a process where once you implement a new system, as you can see from the start, Coach Mike Brown's system is very different from what Tom Thibodeau was running the past year with his New York Knicks. The difference that I've seen is it seems to be more energy within the players. I don't know if that's a testament of just having a new voice in the locker room. It could be. I know from past interviews that I've read and stuff like that, usually having a new voice after a tough stretch usually gets the attention of new and current players. So that could be a possibility. Again, I'm not 100% sure on that. But listen, Mike Brown can coach, man. Um, was he the sexiest name out there for the Knicks to go and put out there? I wouldn't think so. But as I went over in a previous episode, this guy's a winning coach. He had four championships with the Warriors as an assistant. He led that 2007 Cleveland Cavaliers team to an NBA Finals appearance, and he pretty much he pretty much fixed that Sacramento Kings franchise until they decided to part ways with him. So this is a guy that once he has the right pieces in place, I feel like he can do wonders for any roster. But obviously, you have to have the players that is structured for your type of offense. And I think from what we're seeing right now, the Knicks are pretty. They look pretty damn good, man. They look pretty damn good. If we're going to offense and defensive rankings right now, well, first and foremost, the Jets. My mind's still on football. The Knicks are 7-3, seven 6-1 at home. They lost their first home game last night to the Orlando Magic. And granted, Orlando Magic team, they're not scrubs. They're gonna be right there when it comes to the top tier as far as our playoff seating in the Eastern Conference this year. Hopefully everything goes good with Paulo Banchero and his injury. I know doctors reported that he left yesterday's game with a groin injury. And let's just face it, that team is going to go as far as Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero take them. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do moving forward. But I do anticipate that the Orlando Magic are going to be one of those teams that we talk about, aside from the Knicks and the Cavaliers, and even you got even doing the Detroit Pistons too. They're pretty. They were probably one of my most surprising teams as far as how they performed in last year's playoffs. So yeah, 121.8 points per game, ranks ninth in the NBA. They have a second offensive rating. Points in the paint is sixth. Fast break points, and this is what pretty much surprised me because I think they were 27th last year. They ranked number 13 this year, fast breaks, and they are 11th. They ranked 11th in assists. So again, the fast break points, as far as these rankings right now, is the one that surprised me because that's pretty much how Mike Brown runs his offense. It's so I don't want to say it's similar. I've heard a lot of people say, "Well, you know what? I don't know if this is gonna work because it's sort of similar to how Mike D'Antoni ran his offense when he was with Knicks." Nah, that is definitely not the case at all. Believe it or not, Mike Brown is known as a defensive-minded coach. He's kind of like a defensive coordinator in basketball, whereas Mike D'Antoni was like what Norv Turner was during his days in the NFL as an offensive coordinator. There just wasn't no defense to appear uh, during his coaching tenure wherever he was at. I'm talking about in Phoenix, it was in New York, and it was the same thing with the Rockets. And there's no knock on Mike D'Antoni. He's a hell of a good coach. This is a guy that his team will give you 110 points a game, but if you're giving up 105, that kind of like, you know, doesn't guarantee you any wins. So yeah, defense they give up currently. Remember, we're only about 10 games in. So defense they're giving up 111 points per game, which is obviously going to go down. This is according to StatMuse, which is currently ninth in the NBA, eighth in average score margin. They allow 100. That's the scoring margin is allowed per 100 possessions, and the second best ranking in defense. Obviously, that is a testament to one Mitchell Robinson, who is, in my opinion, the defensive anchor to this New York Knicks team. Um, 15th in steals. They rank 15th in steals and 17th in turnovers per game. That's something that they're going to have to improve in. But if you guys get a chance, check out my new article, 4 Hour Time Press. It is out today, and I wrote a nice, pretty solid Nick column as far as, you know, what I've seen thus far and what I see of this Knicks team moving forward. Now, the two things that I've seen so far is, we all can get caught up as far as the performances they had against Brooklyn and against Memphis. Memphis is an okay team. They're not going to be a team that's going to wow you in the Western Conference. They're just not. Maybe if they're healthy, it depends on if they elect to break up the team. I know there's been a lot of trade rumors floating around regarding John Morant and his status with the Memphis Grizzlies. Um, and then also the Brooklyn Nets. Again, I've said this pretty much the past at least 3 out of 4 of the previous podcast episodes. They're a young team. They're a rebuilding team. And I'll tell you one thing, seeing that performance was just so difficult. Number one, I'm a Net fan. Seeing that was hard. Number two, watching the game with my dad, who's a Knicks fan, and having him screaming and yelling and laughing and all that, it wasn't pretty. It was not good at all. But again, we have to see how this New York Knicks team perform when they go against these top tier teams. And again, Orlando sort of exposed them. The Knicks are one of the worst teams when it comes to 3-point defense. And that's kind of what their issue was last year, as far as getting back on defense and defending the three. Turnovers, again, like I said a little while ago, 17 in turnovers. You gotta clean that up because nowadays, especially the way these guys run and gun, turnovers ultimately lead to points. And the bench production is pretty good. I think the addition of Jordan Clarkson has been as advertised. You could tell that it took him a little while to get adjusted and acquainted to the system that Mike Brown is implementing out there. But now, I think he's averaged 12 points a game, and I think he just moved into 10th on the all-time scoring list from the bench. So, it's kind of not that it's funny or whatever, but it's just you wouldn't think that would be a stat that would be kept out, but obviously it is. You have 6 man of the year, so and I think he's won that award I want to say twice. I could be wrong, but I definitely know he's won it one time. I definitely know that. Yeah, but seeing Clarkson emerge throughout this process has been pretty good. I want to say the past 5 games, we've seen what we're accustomed to seeing, and that's seeing the scoring juggernaut that Jordan Clarkson ultimately will provide for this New York Knicks. Now, we can't say the same thing about Ersan Yabusele. For the most part, he is struggling right now. He's sort of falling out of the current rotation, but I think with him, it's sort of similar to it can at least for Knicks fans, you would hope that it's a similar case where it's just a situation of him adapting to the system. Obviously, that comes within playing time. But the thing that I like about Mike Brown is that he will hold you accountable. So if you're not playing, you're probably not going to see the floor. You're not hustling, you're probably not going to see the floor. And that's is a testament of just being able to play good basketball. He's going to put out what he feels is the best five from a currency standpoint, whether it's a starting lineup, whether it's the middle of the game, he's gonna find that right combination to see who meshes with who. So again, good stuff from the New York Knicks so far. But aside from the 3 point defense, we have to see how they adapt when they play against top tier teams. They got annihilated by Milwaukee a couple weeks ago, and the score was a lot closer than what the game appeared to in last night's game, if you really ask me. And this was without Orlando's favorite. Well, to the organization, he is his favorite, but without their best player in Paolo Banchero. So, yeah, definitely something that the Knicks have to clean up. But all in all, I think if you're a Knicks fan, you have to be encouraged by what you've seen. It's been very exciting to see the ball not be so ball dominant with it being in the hands of Jalen Brunson. I think the past 2 or 3 games he's averaged a little over 6 assists a game. Essentially, you don't think Jalen Brunson to be a guy who's gonna rake up high assists, but the way this system is implemented is pretty much run and gun. You get the rebound, you head up car as fast as the court as you can get and try to get the best shot possible. And I think that's exactly what Mike Brown expects. And I think that's the way you implement his offensive scheme. Now, again, this all is just a matter of time. They're gonna, I think they have one more home game tomorrow against the Miami Heat before they head out to a 5 game road stretch. So we'll see how they ultimately respond. The Knicks are 0-3 on the road. Their 7 wins have come at home, and most of it has come during this 7 game homestand they've had. So they will conclude that homestand tomorrow against the Miami Heat, and then they'll actually their first game on the road will be against Miami. So will be a nice home and home right there to study the opponent and see how those two teams mesh. Because ultimately, this could possibly be a first round playoff series if these teams stay healthy. Obviously, the Knicks are still working things out as far as getting implemented with the offensive scheme. Um, you're still working Mitchell Robinson back into the fold. He's currently not playing back-to-back games. I think for the most part, if you are going to get the best of Mitchell Robinson, maybe at least for the first half, this is probably the best case scenario for the Knicks if it ensures Mitchell Robinson's health, because you can clearly see a difference when he is on the court as opposed to when he is off the court, and how significant of a difference that he makes, especially on the offensive side of the boards. This is a guy who's getting nearly 6 offensive rebounds a game, which is insane. And this is insane. And it was interesting to see what they were going to do as far as whether they're going to bring Robinson off the bench, whether it was going to be Josh Hart. For the time being, it looks like Josh Hart will be that perennial six man to go along with Jordan Clarkson and Deuce McBride in that second unit. So again, it's going to be very interesting to see if they can continue this play. But they just, for the most part, at least aside from yesterday, you know, they've been very, very good on offense. I think they've scored nearly, 130 points a game, which is insane. But again, it's so easy to be like, hey, well, they did it against teams who are more than likely not going to be in the playoffs this year. But again, you beat who's in front of you, and that's just the name of the game. You beat who's in front of you, and hope that when the top tier teams come to town, you're able to squeeze out a win, or at least give them your best shot to assure them, hey, I'm here and I'm coming. So good stuff from the Knicks that I'm seeing so far. I don't know. Again, it's too early to determine whether they. I mean, they sure as hell look like a better team right now, but to me, we had to determine how far they go in the playoffs. How healthy they're going to be. It was reported yesterday, and I'm sorry to bring this up, Knicks fan, but it was reported yesterday that Jalen Brunson was seen leaving Madison Square Garden in a walking boot. There was a play where he was driving to the lane, and you sort of seen that awkward turn of the ankle and knee. So you hope that it's nothing too serious. You really hope that it's nothing too serious. But you have to see what comes about. According to ESPN's Sean Sarania, Jalen Brunson did sustain a grade one right ankle sprain, and for now he's going to be out of tomorrow's game against Miami. So it's going to be a daily evaluation. So there's not really no timetable as far as how much time he's going to miss. Now, I think for Knicks fans, now hear me out. This might sound a little crazy, but for it to happen now and it not be as significant as what it looked like, because it looked like a pretty bad sprain. I've had my share of ankle sprains in my playing ball, and those ain't pretty. And the way his went along with his knee, you automatically think the worst. And regardless of whether it's my team or not, I always say this: basketball, and just any sport in general, when you have the top tier players going head to head, it's kind of like how boxing used to be. You guys remember how boxing was so highly anticipated when you had two of the top tier best at their craft going at each other? I'm talking about Tyson Holyfield. I'm talking about Trinidad and Cotto. During their time, I would say Mayweather Pacquiao, but we all know how that fight went out. But they were still at their peak. At their peak, I guess. They were still at their peak, but you want to have these players go at each other, to create that box office moment. So, unfortunate news to hear about Jalen Brunson and his injury, and we just wish him the best. And hopefully, this is not a long layoff. It doesn't appear that way, but again, according to Sean Sharania, he will be evaluated daily. So we'll see how that ankle responds. Because it's early in the season, you rather have it now as opposed to it being a situation where it's like 5 games left and then he goes down and then his status for the first round of playoffs is imminent. So, yeah, definitely good stuff. But all in all, if you're a Knicks fan, you got to be impressed with this. You definitely got to be impressed with this. Um, we got the AL MVP award that's going to go out today in the American League. I think they're going to pull out the National League too. I'm not 100% sure on that. I would assume that you would do both on the same day, but I don't see right now. But obviously, you got some contenders and you got some straight out baseball players as far as who is going to be the front runners for the awards. Obviously, Jose Ramirez is going to get some awards and somebody else, but again, the AL MVP is going to be highlighted by two players, and that is Seattle's Kyle Raleigh and New York's Aaron Judge. Now, it's easy to be like, hey, well, this person is good because of this person is good because of that. But I think voters, from a generosity standpoint, they have, at least they should have their vote based on the numbers. I mean, And then the other side of the coin is, well, if it's called the most valuable player, shouldn't it be the team that is most shouldn't it be the player that is most valuable to their team? Well, that kind of makes it a close conversation because if you take Cal Raleigh out of the Seattle Mariners lineup, where's Seattle at? Where would Seattle be at? We all see where the Yankees would be at, especially when Judge went down with the elbow injury. So that's a foregone conclusion. They're not going to be the same. And I think that you could say that for both teams. So that's kind of an unfair assessment that for people that I spoke with that have said that because they're both valuable to their respective teams. So let's break down the numbers. So Seattle went 90 and 72. The Yankees went 94 and 68. As far as batting average, Coyote had a 247 batting average as opposed to Aaron Judge. So Aaron Judge wins that battle. As far as OBP, which is on base percentage, Coyote had a 359 on base percentage, where Aaron Judge had a 457 on base percentage. As far as slugging goes, Coyote had a 589 slugging percentage, where Aaron Judge had a 688 slugging percentage. As far as our OPS, which is on base plus slugging, Cal Raleigh sits at 948 and Aaron Judge was at a 1.145. As far as home runs, we all know that Cal Raleigh had arguably the best season ever as a catcher. He had 60 home runs. Aaron Judge had 53. Now, if you want to make an argument there for old time's sake, Judge did miss a couple of weeks. I think he missed close to 2 weeks. Now, there's no saying that he was going to hit 60 or hit a home run in each of those games that he missed. But again, the numbers are what the numbers are, and it is what it is. But I would like to think that it would have been close, at least a lock tie for at least home run. But obviously, that edge goes to Kyle Riley. As far as RBI goes, Kyle Riley had 125. Aaron Judge had 114. As far as stolen bases, which I found hilarious because neither of these players are known for their speed. Uh, Riley had 14 and Aaron Judge had 12. So uh, that was pretty much a close race, probably the closest race you'll see as far as both of their statistics. As far as walks goes, Cowley had 97 and Judge had 124. Obviously, a lot of those walk came from him being intentionally walk. Uh, these two in general, they're probably the most feared hitters in baseball. So you will get why their walk ratio will be up. So just amazing numbers. And again, it may seem like a landslide as far as the numbers that I read to you guys. Again, this award is not a foregone conclusion. I would understand whether the voters decide, hey, well, we probably won't see this season from a catcher ever again. And the other side is like, well, you know what? The numbers don't lie, and you got to consider the fact that he did miss 2 weeks of the season, and he still managed to put up MVP caliber numbers. So, obviously, you see what I'm wearing on my chest. You see the lid that I have. We are hoping that this man right here, Aaron Judge, takes home the 2025 American League MVP, and I think that will be his third MVP award. I think I think it's three straight, if I'm not mistaken. But again, that announcement will come at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight. I will report it for you guys on my IG. I'm currently working on a TikTok. That way, you guys have more dialogue to me in the event where you do miss out on episodes, and you can have two options whether you can go on the Our Time Press YouTube channel and my TikTok. I'm currently working on that. Just bear with me. But again, I'm pretty excited about tonight. Hopefully, if you're a Yankee fan, we get the good news about Aaron Judge winning the MVP. But again, uh, regardless of the statistics and the numbers that I just broke down for you guys, it's a pretty close race. It's a pretty close race. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what the voters ultimately decide who is worthy of this award. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody behind the scenes with PJ and all the good people here. Thank you guys so much, and thank you guys for being so understanding because I know there was a couple of people that reached out to me personally, like, "Yo, what's going on?" I said, "Oh, geez, like, even though I don't ask for it, but it's kind of hard yapping your mouth here for an hour. But I always appreciate you guys' support and things of that nature. Love you guys, and I will see you guys on the next one. Put your coat on.